This week on the latest episode of The Big Show, it is the Lakefront Film Fest 2021 in progress right now. We'll talk about the festival as it is actually going on, as well as the two new films that are opening this weekend, Snake Eyes, which is in theaters right now, as well as M. Night Shyamalan's latest, Old. Julian Lytle and Charles Kirkland Jr. will join us. And as always, we just try to keep it as real as totally possible here. We'll have all that and more on the latest episode 464. Keeping it real with FilmGordon. Let's go. All right, and welcome to the latest episode of Keeping It Real with FilmGordon. I am Tim Gordon. Julian Lytle is back to join us today. Julian, what's going on, my friend?
Not much. How was y'all?
Man, we are exhausted, man. It's festival week, man. And Charles Kirkland Jr. is also here. Charles, what's going on, man? How you doing?
Man, I wish I could just watch some Olympics.
But I got it on right now.
I have no idea what that means.
But before we go any further, I just want to give a shout out to WHUR for becoming #1 rated station in the DC area. I mean, they're our sister station. We broadcast through them with DC Radio, and they are now the #1 radio outlet in Washington, DC. So big shouts out to WHUR.
Julian, you got anything on HUR ascending back to #1?
No, not really. That's quite perplexing. It just lets you show what the other stations have fallen to in terms of like their reach with, let's say, younger people. So I don't know. That sounds cool.
Well, interestingly enough, I'm really the only person who worked at WHUR.
Here we go.
True. I mean, and again, we were #1 all 7 years that I was there. But that's good. I'm glad y'all back, WHUR. Sean Plater, and the rest of the crew over at HUR. I'm glad y'all back. That's what's up, HUR. I'm sorry. And actually, I'm being funny, man, but I've said many times privately as well as publicly, of all the jobs I've ever had, that was the most fun I ever had. And HUR, of course, is celebrating its 50th anniversary coming up in October. So can't wait. I'm sure I'm going to get an invite. I got invited to the 40th anniversary, so I'm sure I'll be there. So thank you, Charles. That was a good look to spotlight HUR. Julian, who, by the way, is looking really unimpressed right now because he said, as I said earlier, this is his face, has probably been up and has listened to Donda a couple of times since it dropped.
Well, that's not true because it's not actually out yet.
Wait a minute. I thought it came out on Friday.
No, it did not. He had a listening party on Thursday, and it has not been released as an album to listen and stream yet.
But
okay,
that's to say that you haven't been listening to it.
No, look. I'm confused because I swore that the word on the street was that the album dropped on Friday. Well, actually, it was supposed to be right.
It was supposed to. That's what he said. That's what he said it was going to.
So the album is still not out?
No. I personally don't care. I heard it because the listening party, but everybody gets to be late with their albums. I don't know why Kanye gets flack for him. Like, I should have had a new Drake album last year, but he pushed it back because he couldn't tour. Supposedly Kendrick was supposed to put out an album, but he put one out because can't tour. Everybody's supposed to put out albums last year, but they didn't because they can't tour. So if Kanye wanted, retool the album with Guru and all the rest of Mike Dean and them, so be it. We'll get it when we get it. It sounds good though. A lot of people gonna hate on it, but
watch this. I stand corrected because I heard the album. I thought the album was out.
You might hear some rips of the video stream, but if you go to a store, it ain't there. If you go on Spotify, it ain't there. If you go to Amazon Music, it ain't there.
Wow.
If you go to Apple Music, it ain't there.
Well, so I stand corrected. I'm the only one that's heard nothing of this album, right?
You say you're the only one that heard nothing of this album?
Right.
Probably. Like, if that's not your bag, if you wasn't sitting up away your Apple Music open, on Thursday night because it was late. It wasn't like it started at 8 o'clock. It started like at like 9:25.
Well, don't worry. You'll find out what I was doing Thursday night in a few minutes.
All right, well, I stand corrected. I saw Variety and everybody talking about his listening party, and I heard the album was supposed to drop on Friday. I just assumed it did in the middle of the Olympics and the Lakefront Film Festival and all of the movies we have to watch. So thank you, Julian, for putting us on game and letting us know that the album you don't really care about, you heard it already, and it's all right.
I care about it, but it'll be out when it's out. I let creatives do what they do. I still ain't seen James Bond yet. That's supposed to be out already, so I ain't gonna give Kanye no flack.
Well, there was this little thing called the pandemic last year that sort of played havoc with album releases, as you said, Drake and other folks, and things that people were looking forward to. So, all right, well, okay, well, I guess we will revisit it when it's officially out. When, like as Julian said, when you go on Amazon and you can stream it, or when you go someplace into a record store and it's a copy there, we will revisit that again. So I was going to ask you. You said it was okay.
It was quite good. Yeah.
Okay.
It told an interesting story, and it got Hove at the end. The throne is back. The throne is back.
Wow. Well, for you, I know this is a big deal because Julian and I have talked about his love for Kanye West and how creative he thinks Kanye is. So, interestingly enough, while I was playing the album yesterday, the one that's not out yet, a young person who is in the house walked by and looked at me like I was playing R. Kelly by listening to Kanye.
Yeah. People seem to conflate a person having some uninformed thoughts with people who actually do criminal acts. I find that very interesting on the internet.
That's crazy.
And that's why I love Julian Lytle, man. See, just that one sentence right there, he just put it together, man, because that's absolutely correct. So, but enough of Kanye. Kanye is getting enough burn on his own. It's Lakefront Film Festival week, man. And if you can't tell, I'm very tired. Charles, how you doing, man? Because Charles and I have literally talked like we're roommates over the last 48 hours, man. We've been on the phone at least once an hour, man, for like the last 2 days. Because it's virtual. Huh?
I said, are we still on? Are we still on?
Oh, that's funny, man. So yeah, Julian, man. The festival debuted on Thursday night. We started out with Between Worlds. We had a full slate yesterday. There's a full slate going on right now. Wilson Morales is not with us because he is literally on air right now at the Lakefront Film Fest doing the film critics panel. Let's Get Critical, along with Shireen Nicole, who is moderating the panel, Carla Renata, the Curvy critic, Gray Drake, Kevin McCarthy from Fox 5, WTTG here locally, as well as Wilson Morales. So those guys are getting it done. I was teasing Julian that, Julian is the only family member who seems to just have all this free time in the last 48 hours. Everybody else is grinding and working and
free time.
Julian has free time.
Free time. What is this? I work a whole job.
Look, we both work whole jobs, and then the festival is like a second job. So it's been a lot.
Me, I got a couple other jobs too. I just don't talk about it.
Well, this is true. And one of those jobs is going to get you on a panel next year at the Lakefront Film Festival. So be looking out. And remember, when we get you on the panel, man, we still growing. So don't be trying to send your accountant to us for a check.
Accountant. I don't got one of those yet.
Your manager, your publicist, your boy from around the hood. Don't send nothing to cats for us, man.
Pull up with the things on them.
Always. We scared of them. But no, man, it's just been a lot of fun. So Charles, you go ahead on, man, and talk a little bit about the festival, man, because as I will talk about the fest, I am adverse, man, because I don't want people to think it's just like a one-man show. There's a huge team of people that are behind the scenes, man, that many in the public never get to interact with. Julian knows. Charles knows. So talk a little bit about it, Charles.
Well, we secured a big festival film for our closing night film this year. It's a documentary from Sweden called Sabaya, which is a documentary about the rescue of sex slaves in the Middle East. It's a very good documentary. MTV picked it up as one of its documentary films, and like in our last festival, we had 17 Blocks, which was also an MTV documentary that got, that blew up for David Rothbard. So hopefully we'll give the same success to this movie, Sabaya, that it'll just go on to greater things from here on out. But that's not our only film studio film in this festival. We also had The Tiger Who Came to Tea, which is a animated film from Universal Studios that's part of the festival. It's one of our shorts blocks, and it's a very entertaining animated film. For my wife and I sat through and watched it again the other night. So actually the other night, I mean just earlier today. And that's been pretty much the whole thing for me the last week, is watching films and programming films and making sure everything is there. And I'm losing more hair. I don't know if you can tell, but it's been a wonderful time, man. The Lakefront Film Festival is hot as always. We talked about the critics panel. We also got a talk series with Chaz Ebert from RogerEbert.com, who's going to be in with Sharon and Mel Minnow, as they discuss just not what's going on in her life. So it's an interesting panel as well. It's called What You Doing, and it's just an excellent festival. And if you haven't checked it out, hurry up and check it out, because by the time you hear this, it'll almost be over. But we should have been talking about it last week to tell people to come to see it this week. So.
Yeah, pretty much, man. Well, the whole thing with the virtual side kind of sent me for a loop, Julian, because, there was, back when we were planning around January or February, we were really trying to bring it home. We knew that a new president was coming in. We knew there was a vaccine plan, and we had anticipated that even at 25 or 50%, that some of the venues here in Columbia, Maryland would be open, and that we would be able to do an in-person festival. And we found out probably in April that was not going to happen, that these facilities were going to open much later in the fall. So we scrambled and put together a platform. And at the same time that we were putting together a streaming platform, we also rebranded the website. So we had a lot of activity that the team was doing within the last month in order to pull this thing together, and they got it done. The only damper is one of our team members, man, had a personal loss this morning, loss of her mother. So despite the fact that we're celebrating film and we're welcoming people into this virtual festival, the team as a whole is feeling kind of, we're saddened this morning. This afternoon. So I'm not going to put her name out there, but just in general, we are praying for her. We're trying to support our team member through something difficult in the loss of a parent, which sort of happened in the middle of the festival. So yeah, man, tough last 24 hours, man. Really, really tough, man. But again, to Charles's point, I downgraded, man, because I tell people close to me that I'm busy doing the work, that I don't really talk about the work or sit around and focus on what we're doing. But I'm really, really proud that, as Charles said, I didn't even think about The Tiger Who Came to Tea being from Universal Studios, because that would add that as a festival film. As a studio release. But we have been lucky, we have been blessed, we have been fortunate that for the second festival that we've had 4 to 5 studio films ingrained into our festival, including 2 closing night films, a spotlight film from 2019, a spotlight film this afternoon in the shorts block. and this evening's closing night film, Sabaya. So that was a really good get. There were a number of films that I really wish we could have played, and I'm not going to give them any props or any praise, but Charles knows exactly what I'm talking about, man. We swung for the fences. And as we go into year 3, as we close this festival, I can't wait to unveil what the plans are to the team. Charles, again, sort of has an idea of the direction that we're going in. But when I said that I wanted to create a major film festival here in the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area, I meant it. We were laughing earlier because we were looking at some of the folks who have attended the festivals, these locations that people are coming from. And somebody logged in last night and bought a ticket, Julian, from Turks and Caicos.
Wow.
Turks and Caicos. They're watching Lakefront Film Festival content in Turks and Caicos.
Laying on the beach, watching films.
You're watching the films, man, in Brooklyn, in the Bronx, in Manhattan. Shout out to our New York folks who have tuned in hard. Folks in South Carolina, North Carolina, the Carolinas, y'all repping. So, hey, man, it's Julian. It's an interesting thing, and as a person who is an illustrator and who does his own thing, to understand the impact that you're making, that people are starting to pick your stuff up around the country and around the world. It's a humbling thing, man. That all of us are doing, man. It's not just me doing this. Julian is a superstar in his own right. Charles Kirkland is building his name and having his first true test with programming. So this has been a lot of fun to watch Charles just literally like evolve on spot, like watching Charles take this programming opportunity and just kind of grab it by like a tiger by the tail, man, and just hold on, man, because there's a lot of stuff happening day to day. But it's just interesting to see, man. And I'm just very humbled, very happy that people are responding to this film festival in the ways they are. And it gives me hope, Julian, moving forward, that it's going to grow to be bigger and better. At some point, we'll be able to afford to have Julian Lytle do something at our film festival. Because, this dude right now, Julian is the man. I mean, we can't even get Julian right now, man.
We ain't got enough thriller for that. We got to get
crazy. Y'all crazy.
Have you ever been, watch this, Julian, have you ever been approached about an opportunity at the festival?
What do you mean?
I mean, by virtue that the talk programmer and you are really cool, I'm trying to figure out why you haven't been approached for any opportunities to sit on panels, to do master classes, to be a part of the conversation, to do anything at the festival.
I don't need to be part of all of that. This the shine for all these other nice people you got on here.
Wow. Now I will say Julian did come.
I don't know if I'm some master classes. Like, no, man, I know how to read comic books. That's about it.
See, there you go.
Yeah, I know how to read comic books. I don't know. I don't know. There's a master class for that yet.
Yeah, you know what I'm thinking would be a fun discussion to have at a future festival. We've seen over the course of the last, I would say 25, almost 30 years, the rise, the true rise of the blending of comic book films and in cinema and pop culture, right? So you're talking about the Marvels and the DCs and all of the other different imprints that have graphic novels that come out that are turned into television shows. At some point, man, we probably need to look at the cultural impact. That probably is something that I would recommend. We probably need to have a conversation about the cultural impact of people like the two of you who grew up reading comics versus the nerd that's talking to you who was too busy watching movies, never understanding that at some point they'd be any of these cinematic universes. Who knew about Marvel's plans or DC's plans or what was going on television or, so who knew? So yeah, I mean, at some point I'm laughing because Julian is like, all I do is learn how to read comic books. There's a certain utility in that, especially for audience members or people who attend the festival who are looking for some information from people like you. Julian can sit in a room with 3 or 4 other people who have read all these comics and they go, well, I don't understand what's happening in the MCU. Who is he who remains? Who?
You mean when I said it was Kang and you was like, how? How? I was like, it's gonna be Kang. He was like, how? He's not supposed to be until Ant-Man 3. I'm like,
why you put me on blast, man? Why you had to use me in your analogy, man? Why couldn't you just use some other person?
Because we was Kangs. We was Kangs.
Well, wait a minute. Was he Kang or is that he who remains who would later become Kang variant?
We was Kangs.
That's a good question because they are 2 different characters in the Marvel universe. There is a He Who Remains and there's a Kang, but this was Kang. He used the name He Who Remains, but that's not who he was.
Yeah, we was Kangs. Tim.
All right, well,
Kang,
man. I'm always looking at ideas, man. And Shireen, who's good friends with all of us that are here, I think she has done an amazing job with this talk series. Matter of fact, this film.
All you have. Put a show on.
Look. But I was watching that thing, man. And I was getting jealous because I even called her. I was like, man, I want to do that panel. Oh, that's right. I can't be on it because I'm on the, I run the festival. But it looks like it's a lot of fun because, they literally get an opportunity to pick a favorite scene, and it's called Let's Get Critical. And you break the scene down and talk about its importance on why it helped you either become a critic. It's something that was a moment for you. I love the idea of doing it. And like, maybe I didn't really pay attention too much the first time they did it, but this second time watching Wilson, Gray, Carla, and Kevin do it, I was like, man, I want to do that. That would be fun.
I guess you would pick The Godfather too, right?
Well, no, Carla did The Godfather today, but I think, it's funny because I was talking to Wilson earlier about his participation in doing it. And he was teasing me. He was like, well, what film would you pick? You're going to pick something really obscure, right? I was like, no, not really. I mean, I could have done any number of films. I could have done On the Waterfront. Of course, like you said, The Godfather, Being There is another one. But then if you want to go and do something Black, I mean, I could have done something like Sugar Hill from '94, which I thought was amazing.
Yeah, that's great.
Rome.
Yeah,
you ain't got to go nowhere, Rome.
Right.
Stay right here with me.
Watch this. I could have done something really obscure like Putney Swope. Putney Swope, man, from '68. Robert Downey Sr. just died recently. Wilson, have you ever seen that movie? I mean, Wilson. Julian, have you ever seen the movie?
Yeah, I have. I've seen it.
Charles, have you seen it?
No.
I haven't seen it in a long time,
Yeah.
but I watched it back when Netflix used to give out discs. Well, they still give out discs, but back when that was the only way you was using Netflix. You get them nice little red envelopes and be like, oh, let me see what I got here to improve my cinematic intelligence.
But look, I remember, to Julian's point, that had to be like in 2007, 2008, when Netflix was doing the red envelopes. I decided that I would go back and find every blaxploitation film I could. And I watched one they sent me, Julian, called The Candy Tangerine Man. Anybody?
Nah, I ain't seen that one.
Ask me what The Candy Tangerine Man is about.
Please tell me it's a horror movie.
No, it's a movie about a guy who by day is a successful businessman, but by night he was a pimp, called The Candy Tangerine Man, who had a stable of women. It was a bizarre. I was like, The Candy Tangerine Man.
Ooh,
yes.
I want to remake this.
That's
interesting. You make it like the style like American Psycho. You make it nice and dark and gritty like some Safdie Brothers bull. Yeah, you can get fun with that. All right, my bad. I'm going on a tangent.
And the same guy that starred, I think his name. No, okay, hold on a second. I might be getting this confused. I think the same guy that starred in The Candy Tangerine Man also starred in Black Shampoo, which was the takeoff of Warren Beatty's Shampoo from 1975.
Yeah.
And he played a hairdresser who, if you can figure out from watching Shampoo what Beatty did, he did the same thing, but his name was Jonathan. So I never forget, I put the disc in and I heard this kind of 70s porn beat, boom, 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 and he's washing this woman's hair. She's like, Jonathan, oh, Jonathan. So yeah, man. When I tell you, I watch movies, man. Whether it's a classic film, whether it's blaxploitation, whether it's foreign language. You know, I try French wave. I've watched all sorts of films, man, over time. But I'm glad to see Julian getting his game on. Charles is still a work in progress because there's so many movies that Charles and Wilson have never watched, man. And I'm always astounded with Wilson. It's like, dude, really? You've never seen this movie before? Like anything that's before 1950, 1940? Like, don't watch any of them.
What? That's crazy.
It is crazy, man. Charles, what's your excuse?
What are you talking about? You name one movie out of like 20,000 that I don't see. Come on, I can't see everything.
Laura,
I can't see everything.
Look, Laura, the Maltese Falcon, To Have and Have Not.
What are you talking about? I have those on my shelf right now.
That doesn't mean you watched them.
Dang, that's hateful.
I mean, Charles is the man who said that he never watched all of The Godfather at one time. I didn't make that up. That was Charles Kirkland who said that.
Wait, just that one movie?
That one movie. Charles has never seen it.
Not the super duper extra long cut where they put it together chronologically. That was hard because that's like 7.5 hours of film.
Nah, bro, that's like 10 hours, bro. I watched
whatever.
that.
I watched the whole thing when it was on HBO. I just sat there. I was like, this is good. They need to put this out on this version because the chronological cut is what's up.
Yeah, the chronological cut was good because they added some stuff in to make it all kind of fit together.
Yeah, I love it.
Well, seeing as though I'm the only one in this group that has a wife and children, life gets in the way when you're sitting down and watching a 4-hour movie.
My mom liked Pacino, so I watched a lot of Pacino films when I was a little kid that I shouldn't have been watching when I was a little kid. I saw all of them. I saw Godfather. I saw Serpico. I saw all that before I was 10 years old. Anything with Al Pacino in it, that joint was getting watched.
Oh boy!
She didn't make you watch Panic at Needle Park, did she?
No, I don't think I saw that one. I don't think she cared about that
one.
One
of his first ones.
Oh, we gotta get your game up. We gotta get your game up.
No. See, he's allowed to not have watched Panic at Needle Park. I mean, you know, see, there's a difference when I say there's a difference between Panic at Needle Park and The Godfather. Right?
That's true.
That's like saying if like give me just watch this. I always do this with Charles, right? Because you know Charles wants to try to think that I'm keeping notes all the time. Give me an actor, any actor, old, new, white, black, Hispanic. It doesn't matter. Give me an actor.
Errol Flynn.
Good choice. Earl Flynn. All right. So Earl Flynn, I think was it Robin Hood?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it's a difference between saying, man, have you seen Robin Hood? Because Robin Hood is like The Godfather. You know, that's kind of a movie he's known for versus some obscure Earl Flynn movie. So I can't get mad at you if you've seen an obscure Earl Flynn movie or haven't seen one. But if you didn't see Robin Hood, well, actually, nobody's probably seen Robin Hood recently. So that was good, Charles, that you picked somebody that absolutely nobody would know their films. Thank you, Charles.
That's the reason why I like the Crystal Skull from Indiana Jones, because it's Errol Flynn movies. It's like, yeah, but that's an entirely different conversation. Well,
no. Look, it's not an entirely different conversation. I've been saying it. I remember they brought me out to do a writer's workshop, and I taught film, right? And I did a workshop on. There's only six stories, right? And, you know, I broke it down. I said, it's man versus man versus machine, man versus humanity. All we're watching in every week when new movies come out is we're watching variations of stuff that's already come out. So, which to me made a lot of sense, which is why I gravitated toward watching classic films, because those are where all the ideas generate from. So when you start watching a film like Savages 10 years ago, I'm sitting in the theater going, man, this is Shaft. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I said Superfly. This is Superfly. And like, what do you mean? I said, two guys, one guy, they're both in the game. One wants to get out. The other one wants to stay in. I was like, it's the same film. It's that these concepts are not new. They're always based on something that has come before it. So, yes, Charles. So to tease you, the reason why you get so much shade when it comes to The Godfather, because that's a film that everybody's seen, and for you to proudly wear it like a badge, man. I ain't never sat through the whole thing. I ain't never seen that. I've seen it. I ain't never sat through it. Like,
Tim be trying to get me too, Charles, but then I'll say I seen it. He be shocked. So it's not.
I am not shocked. Actually, I am shocked because I'm younger. I associate Julian with like the classics, but the person I do get on the worst is Wilson, because Wilson has this age thing where he swears he won't watch a movie if it's that old, and I'm like looking at him like, how are you in the game if you don't watch these movies? Like watching movies is a part of being quote unquote a film critic, to understand and figure out the basis, lighting, mood, direction, score, all that stuff you pick up from just watching movies, man. So,
man, I picked Errol Flynn because I'm invested in Errol Flynn. I saw Captain Blood when I was maybe 7 years old, and I walked around all day long with a stick trying to sword fight like him. Yeah. It was Captain Blood that he started sword fighting before he got to The Adventures of Robin Hood. So 1935, I think it was, Captain Blood. So, I mean, I know my movies. I just know the movies that I watch. I don't catch everything that you see, and I don't catch everything that Julian sees, but we all see movies.
Well, let me give you a recommendation, a classic recommendation right now. And I only saw this because I spent a lot of time watching Turner Classic Movies, right? And they had this had to be maybe about 7 or 8 months ago. They had a retrospective on Charlie Chaplin. And I had heard about this guy, but I had never watched his movies, right? I watched City Lights. Julian, I promise you, City Lights, you need to go back.
No, I've seen it. You've seen it? Because when I was a kid, all I had was PBS and the regular channel. So whatever was on TV is what I watched. Like all these other folks, they had all these old discs and they had cable and they were stealing cable. I ain't had none of that. And what was on the 4 basic channels and the other 5 UHF channels and PBS is what I watched until we got Blockbuster, and then I could rent stuff. And then I'm sitting there just trying to watch kung fu movies and anime before they got popular. So I seen them old Charlie Chaplin because PBS used to love playing Charlie Chaplin movies.
Man, let me tell you something. When they broke that movie down to me, that's the silent film, man, where he falls in love with a girl who's blind. And the thing that I found so amazing about watching that film, man, is in a film that's a silent film, the fact that he can evoke that level of emotion without saying a word, I was staring at my screen like, man, that's a master right there. That's not even, Julian, no dialogue. We're just putting up cards in between scenes and stuff is happening. And you sitting there almost crying at the end of City Lights like, man, this guy, Chaplin was amazing, man. So that's why I get it and I understand. And the other reason I brought that up is because, by virtue, when people do their film festivals and they come up with ideas, you try to think about things, just as Sting once said, just be yourself, no matter what they say. And I swear we already are doing an anniversary film. We didn't do one this year because the anniversary films work best in person when people can show up, dress up, sing along, and hang out and have fun. But I would really love to revisit putting some classic films into our festival and to find out if there's an audience for people who would want to watch things on the big screen that they may have only seen on television. So like, I never saw City Lights in the theater. I've never seen, On the Waterfront, Paths of Glory. There's so many movies. When you think about Raisin in the Sun, I've never seen Sidney Poitier's Raisin in the Sun on the big screen. I think there's a certain amount of utility, a certain amount of wow, of kind of old school Hollywood. So, I mean, that is something that I probably want to investigate moving forward. But yeah, I mean, what do you think, Julian or Charles, about the idea of us revisiting something like that for a future festival?
Well, as a programmer of a festival, I would say that'd be pretty interesting to do. At least get one screen where you're showing a couple classic movies like that to give people that experience. Because, like you said, I can't imagine what on the waterfront would look like on a big screen. That'd be kind of awesome. I think. I don't know. And I think there's so much to the experience of seeing things on the big screen versus even when you have a big screen at home. But being in a theater, there's just something about that communal experience. I've said that so many times before that when you get into a theater with a bunch of people who you do not even know and you feel the same way about what you're seeing on the screen, it's an unbeatable experience. So yeah, I'd love to see something like that on the. I'd love to see the Adventures of Robin Hood on a big screen. That would be incredible. So I mean, yeah.
Julian?
Yeah, I think that would be good. You could probably wrap it around the theme of the festival. You know, once you pick out the films of the festival, you could probably pick out classic films that fit a similar thematic or close to what some of the subject matters of those films are. You know, treat it like a lesson. You see in these new films, you can see some of the films that you could tell they're referencing. You know, sometimes the filmmakers pretty open on what they're using as their basis.
Right.
Or you can also use whatever anniversary it is. It's been blah 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 since this, or it's been this many years since New Hollywood started in the 60s, or you can do the Noir era, French New Wave, or all that type of stuff.
Well, I was going to say, I think the thing that's interesting, I've done enough of these festivals. I've gone to festivals where people theme them out and they'll say, well, we're doing social justice or social justice block, or we're doing this block. And I'm no disrespect to people who do that. I've always tried to stay true that as a programmer and, talking with Charles about it, is that I always look for what I call provocative stories, whether they're happy provocative stories, sad stories. I just like really well-told stories that kind of evoke some level of emotion from you. So for an example, for people who saw our opening night film, Between Worlds, which was a story of a young lady who led a flamenco. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Yeah, flamenco. Yeah,
flamenco dancing troupe in Venezuela who had an ambition that they wanted to bring their act to Broadway, right? So they worked really, really hard. They got the opportunity. They got to Broadway, and unfortunately, the show had so many moving parts and it was so expensive. And they got a bad review, or a mixed review, I should say, from the New York Times, and people didn't come and buy tickets. And they had to close the show, Julian, in 2 days. So they go back home, disappointed, kind of crushed, trying to figure out what went wrong. And then slowly they rebuilt the show, right? So they tweaked the show, and they didn't get back to Broadway with this particular show, but they did get back to Miami and perform it in front of sold out folks, right? So the documentary ends, of course, with them planning another new show that is coming back to Broadway. So the saga continues for this group and this young lady. But in between, they're on hard times. She's running out of money. She's taking jewelry she owns. She's trying to pawn it to keep the show alive. And then for them to come back and be such a success at the end, there was a lesson in that for me. And also the action with the dancing was absolutely amazing. So we have another film that's going to play later today, which is another dance film called Uprooted, which I am really, really excited about, which is a documentary about jazz and dance. Oh my God, man. So again, as a programmer, I get really excited when we get an opportunity to see stuff that we program into the festival and wait for the reaction of festival attendees to what it is that we are introducing to them, man. So for me, man, it is one of the joys of my life. And this, along with the Black Reel Awards that we do now for television and for film, it's a pretty cool existence, man. It ain't as cool as Julian, doing his thing. I just try to do what I do. Right, I try to roll with Julian. Whether
you out here making people thinking that I'm cool and I'm the squarest square in Squaredom.
Julian is not the square. What I'm waiting on though is I'm waiting for ants to be picked up so I can tell people that I have issue number 1 that Julian sold me. So I'm waiting. I got it wrapped in plastic. I'm like, come on, Julian, we got to get this thing up and running. When is ants gonna be on the big screen, man? Nobody's gonna pick that up for animation. That's not a Pixar property. That's not Disney. Who's picking it up?
Probably nobody. I don't know.
Wow.
We'll see how successful I am in that world one day. Maybe I can get something made. But until then, I'm just an underground person. They don't know about me.
All right, well, we can ready to shift gears, man, because it is we got about another like 15, 16 minutes left in the show. And I did not get a chance to see Snake Eyes, but Charles Kirkland did. So Charles, man,
I was there. I saw.
Oh, okay. So
we were
Julian,
there
y'all
together.
chop it up, man. Talk about Snake Eyes, man, because I know I got invited. I didn't go. Charles Kirkland sat in my stead. So who's going first on Snake Eyes? And somebody set it up and tell the audience what this film is about.
I'm gonna let Julian go because I mean, honestly, it's a retelling of the origin of Snake Eyes from the G.I. Joe Hasbro property, and that they're trying to reboot this whole Hasbro universe with the Mask and everybody else are going to try to do this. So they recreated the origin story of Snake Eyes in this new film starring Henry Golding and a bunch of other people. So what did you think about this new movie, Julian?
Okay.
Because after the film was over, we did have like a nice little sit down discussion, a number of us. So
can I just say before Julian starts that I'm just watching his body language. This doesn't seem like it's gonna be positive. But go ahead, Julian. I can be wrong because you know how you tell me it's just my face.
It is just my face. But I think there was a lot of hard work put into this movie to make a decent action movie.
This is not starting off well.
I think they've made some storytelling choices in regards to their narrative that I disagree with, and I would have done something different.
Sounds like a Wilson Morales review. Go ahead, man. I like this.
I think they did a good job at trying to capture the feeling of mid-'80s action films, where it has the aesthetic of not of actual Japan, but of the American mid-'80s view of Japan. And it had a feeling of sets and of play sets, because when you play, because for a lot of people, let's keep it a buck, G.I. Joe's been around for the 60s, and there's two different eras of G.I. Joe. There's the giant 12-inch doll G.I. Joe with the Kung Fu grip and the clothes. And then there's what we're talking about with Snake Eyes, which is the rebrand of G.I. Joe Real American Hero versus the terror organization of Cobra, and with G.I. Joe shrunk down to 3¼ inches to combat the Star Wars line by Kenner. And they got Marvel Comics to make a story of like all these super American patriot dudes and ladies versus this super evil terrorist organization that we didn't expect to actually low-key become real. But they took a character that is known for not having a scarred face and no voice, and being a white dude doing Asian stuff and being an outsider, and that's a commando. And they picked pretty handsome as Henry Golding. So he talks a lot, and he's angry. And the part of the movie I didn't like is they turned our hero, Snake Eyes. He doesn't have a name. He's just Snake Eyes the whole movie. A grown man is called Snake Eyes the whole movie. And they made him a terrible person that basically sets up that his entire career is a redemption arc. While the character we know as a bad guy, played by Andrew Koji, going by the name of Storm Shadow, his code name when you buy the toy, but here it's called Tommy Arashage Kage, into a very empathetic character that all he wants to do is stop terrorism and protect his family's lineage. But somehow he's the bad guy at the end of the story. But he acted his butt off in comparison to everybody else in this movie. And for somehow Samara Weaving is in it as Scarlet, and she was in it for like 5 minutes, and who cares? It was a waste of time. but the action was okay, but the editing was funky. But you do get to see some butt kicking. You get to see some ninja action. So it ain't totally bad. It's too long. It's 2 hours. Should have been like 100 minutes.
All right. So after having said all that, Julian, I understand that there are some different choices you would have made. Can you wrap it up for the audience and what you would give it as a grade? Because I think that would really encapsulate.
A C. You should watch this in the house. You shouldn't spend $10 on this movie.
All righty. So okay. So Charles Kirkland, where are you falling with Snake Eyes?
Like I said, we had a little sit down session after the film was over, and we hit all those same points. It was kind of like I said before when I introduced it. This is a recreation of the origin of Snake Eyes. This is not those Snake Eyes that you grew up with watching. If you watch G.I. Joe and American Hero, it's not going to be as intriguing a hero as Snake Eyes is in a real American Hero. So the character development for a lot of them in this movie was not very good. I didn't agree with. I can understand, they're trying to rebrand and go in a new direction, but a lot of it just didn't make sense. And I think, if you want to just go watch some action, it's a good movie, but I wouldn't tell people to go see it. So, I'm giving it a C. Tim tells me I've been hard on movies lately. So I'm giving it a C, being generous, and say, if it comes on Netflix or wherever sometime soon, check it out there. But please don't spend $10 to go see this movie. You unless you got nothing else to do.
Okay, well, again, I told Charles last week that he was being hard on films, and I think it's not necessarily that you're being hard on films, but we're in the middle of the summer season, and I'm not expecting the classics. The Tragedy of Macbeth is not screening next week. If you want to look at a film you really need to critique, you would critique a film like that. But when you're talking about Snake Eyes, man, the film is called Snake Eyes. Julian just told you the character doesn't have a name. He's Snake Eyes for 2 hours. I don't know what you expected, man. But this next film,
I don't know. There's a lot of people who are very invested in Snake Eyes. So much like the superhero thing, even though, let's say what you said, you're supposed to critique Macbeth. Let's be quite honest. Ain't nobody checking for Macbeth. There's 35 years of people checking for Snake Eyes. And sometimes you got to be honest with these people who really care a lot to tell them it's like, you're going to be disappointed. Because we know what's going to happen to Macbeth. I don't care who plays in it. I want to see Denzel Washington, but in the end, I know the story. I done seen 4 versions of Macbeth. I done seen it in real life. But there's a lot of people who, in the internet age, there's people who do stupid stuff when stuff don't go their way. So you got to tell them, like, this thing's going to be whack. Because, that's all I want to say. You can get way more serious than that. But, you got to tell these nerds when stuff ain't going to be popping or they're going to do something dumb.
I mean, you said something at the beginning of this whole at the beginning of this whole thing. You said something very important. You said that when you were coming up, you were watching movies, but there are a group of people nowadays, a generation of people who've been watching this stuff, ingesting this stuff, invested in this storyline, and these people who the movie should be for are not going to be happy with this movie. So that's basically what we're saying.
All I'm saying is to both of you. One person sent me that we had a hard stop at 3:00.
My bad.
The second thing is that y'all spending a lot of time talking about a movie that neither one of y'all like. So we can move on and talk about the next movie because we know you didn't like this movie, right? And Charles, right, by the way, what did you give Snake Eyes since Julian stepped up with a C?
You said a C.
I said a C.
Oh, you said a C too? All right. Well, our next movie is a thriller about a family on a tropical holiday who discovered that the secluded beach where they're relaxing for a few hours is somehow causing them to age rapidly, reducing their entire lives into a single day. It is my nemesis, M. Night Shyamalan, is back yet again with another film. This one is simply titled Old. It stars Gail Garcia Bernal, Vicky Krieps, Rufus Sewell, Alex Wolf. Let me just start with this one, man. M. Night is a guy, and the reason why I call him my nemesis is because The Sixth Sense, outstanding. Unbreakable, really, really strong. And then after that, it's like he fell off a cliff, man. Signs, The Happening, The Last Airbender. What was this Will Smith one and Jaden Smith one he did? After Earth. I mean, M. Night, I'm trying to remember, The Lady in the Water. There's so many films to me that are misses from M. Night Shyamalan. And I never forget sitting at a screening for The Village. And at the end, when we see the hook, I don't know if it was me that screamed it out or somebody. I said, is that it? That's it? I've sat through 2 hours and that's it? So me and M. Night is a filmmaker who I think I would just like to even just invite to my house and just sit down and talk to him for 2 or 3 hours, because I just think he's a really weird dude that he just, his mind just works in a really different way. And I've been saying that I think one of the best hookups in Hollywood would be if somebody like Jordan Peele and M. Night Shyamalan sat down and said, let's develop a project. That I would want to see, because between those two dudes, I think you'd have something pretty special. So having said that, this concept of this new film, of course, it was in the description that I gave out, that a family shows up. It's a husband and wife that clearly are not vibing together, right? They're clearly not getting along well. They've got these 2 young kids that are being kids. They have overactive imaginations. They're suggested in the breakfast one day that, there's a beach, man. We can get you down to the beach. So they go, cool, the beach. And, but don't tell nobody about this secret beach. And then suddenly they get on the bus and they're like 3 other couples that show up, for the don't tell nobody. So that's the first clue. If somebody ever pulls you to the side, Julian, and goes, I'm gonna hook you up, but don't tell nobody, you need to go over here. And when you go there, is there like 4 or 5 other people? It ain't really that secret. So that's already a red flag, right? Red flag number 2 is they get dropped off at the spot and there's a barrier there that they have to walk between. And the driver, they like, hey man, can you bring me such and such? He's like, no, I'm good, man. I'm not coming over there. If you hear somebody go, I'm not coming over there, that's a bad sign too. Number 3 is if you get to the beach that's supposed to be secluded and it's supposed to be secret, and when you show up, there's a rapper named Midsize Sedan that's sitting there chilling, who was already there, that's another sign that something about this spot's not right. Sooner or later, we figure out that, as they said, everybody's aging rapidly. We understand that nobody can leave. The hook, which we won't divulge because I'm gonna force you to go watch it, is that there's a reason why this beach is doing what this beach is doing. Let's just say that I don't know. I mean, I found it to be interesting. It wasn't much of a twist, but it was interesting. I will say this in my review. This is the easiest way to say this for lay people out there. It's not Sixth Sense and it's not Unbreakable, but it's far better. And actually, I would even also put in the good M. Night films. What is the one that he just did? Split. I liked. Split I thought was pretty good. It's not one of those 3 films, but it's way better than The Happening, The Village. Old is sort of in the middle, not necessarily up here with his best stuff, but it's far from his worst stuff. If I had to give it a grade, I'd give it a C+, because that indicates, that it's somewhere in that range. Anybody else have any opinions on Old over the next 2 minutes?
I refuse to see his work anymore.
What?
Hey man, look, and I respect that, because like I said, bro, when you got 12 bullets in the gun and all you can hit is 3 targets out of 12, yeah, maybe we don't give you a gun and let you shoot anymore.
Well, to me, I thought that this was, like you said, it's not his worst work and it's not his best work, but I think it's consistent. I think being based on a graphic novel, which this movie was based on a book, Sandcastle. It gave him a little focus that he might have needed, that he's been missing in the past. And I think he's, except for maybe Glass, I think the movies that he's made recently have been pretty consistently on average decent. I think The Village, The Lady in the Lake, and After Earth have been some time past, so that he's evolved into I think he's becoming more, like I said, the word I want to use is consistent. And I think that to me, I gave Old a B minus. There were some things like that didn't work, like when you see Mid-Size Sedan sitting on the and people are supposed to age quickly on this beach. How long has Mid-Size Sedan been there? But those are the kind of things that if you want to get technical about the movie, you can. But I thought it was actually a decently done film. This one wasn't too bad at all. There were some things about it that I thought was quite enjoyable. And then like I said, there were some questions I had. So I'm saying that I think M. Night has turned a corner, and give him a couple more movies and see what he's got. I don't know. It could be him becoming better at what he does.
So first of all, Mid-Size Sedan is a rapper who is chilling on the beach when everybody shows up. He explains there's a line in there about melanin. So I'm assuming that what they were trying to say in the film is that if you're Black and you got darker skin, that you don't age, or if you do age, people can't really tell. But it didn't make any sense. Charles is actually correct that if you have a character on a beach where people age rapidly, but he's the only one not aging rapidly, who knew? Go figure. That's a hole in the plot. That's all I got. So Julian,
Mid-Size Sedan.
That was the brother's name.
Mid-Size Sedan. All right,
Mid-Size Sedan, which I thought was the most ridiculous rap name. But and what happens to Mid-Size Sedan in the film is even worse. So
all right, bet. I don't need to. Nah, I'll never see if he gets better. I'll never see if M. Night Shyamalan returns. No, I'll never know. I'll never know. Like, I'll never know how many licks it takes to get to a blow pop. Like, I'll never know.
Well, I never tried to lick a blow pop because as a kid, I never had to lick it. I just bit it and broke it in half and got the candy. That's what I mean. The bubble gum. That's what I did. But
what's the name of that director that did? Dang. Never mind. There's directors that I checked out with too, and I can respect you for saying you're not going to see it, but eventually, maybe.
Well, see, I started to say something really sarcastic about Earth, right? Because when he made After Earth, and I saw Battlefield Earth, I was gonna say what film had Earth in the title that was really good. That would be incorrect. So I'm glad I did some research. The Day the Earth Stood Still is amazing. The Last Man on Earth is pretty good. Journey to the Center of the Earth.
There's a whole bunch of bangers with Earth in the title.
Yeah,
just not from him.
On Earth. Let's just say After Earth and Battlefield Earth are not two of those movies. And
disrespectful to Earth.
If you've never seen Battlefield Earth, save your time, your eyes, and your money. Don't even do it to yourself. Don't do it to yourself. So having said that, man, we got to go back and finish Lakefront Film Festival. And Julian Lytle, I want to thank you again on late notice for sitting in for Wilson Morales. Wilson might be a well-respected film critic, but we respect Julian Lytle because Julian Lytle is consistent, that he shows up, drops knowledge, even if he doesn't want to see an M. Night Shyamalan film, he is there to talk about it, whether it's a Kanye release or a Kanye listening party, non-release. Julian is there for his brother, and we appreciate you, man.
Thanks for having me on again.
Charles Kirkland, I've told people that since you haven't seen The Godfather, we will laugh at you to the end of our days. But other than that, you are a solid brother.
I've seen The Godfather. I've seen it.
Yeah, I know, man. You've seen half one day and half the other day. I got you. Until next week, man. You guys keep doing what you're doing. And remember, tickets are on sale right now. If you're watching us for the Lakefront Film Festival, just go to lakefrontfilmfest.com And I promise you, tonight the lineup is gonna be sick, insane. All right, Julian. Julian, you coming to the festival tonight?
Yeah, I'm gonna buy a ticket. Everybody should buy a ticket.
You know, and to quote Nina Simone, who when I was at HUR one time came on the show, and we were trying to interview, and she kept screaming over and over, "Buy tickets now!" I was like, "Thank you, Miss Simone. Buy tickets now!" What's this? True story. All right, man. Until next week, man. We'll see you guys on the other side. As we tell you in closing every week, please see something good at the movies. Ironically, don't see Snake Eyes. We got a festival full of movies. Trust me, you can do much better. You guys take care, and we'll see you next week.